Hello all, Sir Penguin here, and we are looking at a replay review of a 2v2 team game. The goal of this series is going to be reviewing my own gameplay as much as preparing folks for team games by talking about what is most useful in these team games, what our weaknesses and strengths are. So I'm going to get us start off as though we're casting here. In the bottom right is going to be myself, Sir Penguin, in the pink, playing Deli. Above myself and my teammate on Zhu Shi is going to be A-Man. Together, we're playing some pretty strong civs here. Deli is very good on Himayama because you only have the 2 sacred sites. Easy to control. You get less gold, but you get a lot of value out of going for those sacred sites. Now, immediately, I get a little lucky here at the bottom with my scout. He didn't queue his vills into the TC, which bought me some time with this scout to get away, and with my control group there. We missed some sheep, but we got a fair chunk. More just trying to see what Japan's up to. Noteworthy that they were on the gold as we check out their base here. Across from us, playing on our opponent's team, we have Mike Nolan in teal, and Sormion in green above him, playing as Japan and Jeanne d'Arc, respectively. Going into this game, I believe the Jeanne d'Arc player was Diamond 1, and the Japan player was Plat 2. I do believe their ranks have since changed, but let's see how this game goes as a result. So I actually messed up my introduction a little bit here. My opening, that is to say. My lumber camp was late. I accidentally hit the bell with my finger because it's really close to my hotkey for my TC. I have 4 set as my hotkey, and I have R as the bell. So I sometimes hit that a little too early in the game. That's going to delay my gold and actually delay my age up as a result. Because I didn't notice the mining camp was 8 HP off from finishing. Anyway, we're gathering food. We've got all the techs coming in for Deli, except we've forgotten to get the forestry despite getting the early lumber camp. It should come through soon, but it is definitely late. Meanwhile, on the gold, finally getting that all gathered up, and we will get an age up. Because of the issue, I decided to put a 4th on gold just to speed things up a little bit after that mistake. So a little bit of an adaptation to fix the late age up, especially with Japan across from me. I don't want to get rushed by Samurai and Feudal Age or anything like that, Bugeisha, and not be ready for it. A-Man, meanwhile, is going for a nice Meditation Gardens. He's got 2 gold and a stone with the wood line here, so he's going to get 60 gold, 30 stone, and probably, I think he got about 40 wood here or so, maybe less. I go Tower of Victory into the Feudal Age here. Like, as I said, my click up quite late because of the gold issue, but it's not going to end up being a problem. Across from me is the Kura Storehouse for Japan. Now, I'm taking a look at Jeanne. Jeanne just going up with the School of Cavalry up here. A little bit of food, a little bit of everything. You know, classic Jeanne French stuff. Jeanne building the School of Cavalry herself here. Meanwhile, as I'm going up, my goal is to get that Scholar out as soon as I get the 130 gold. Because I'm going Tower of Victory, we're going to go into a build where we stop gathering gold altogether once we realize we have enough gold for the Scholar. And there it goes. We queue the Scholar. Gonna cancel Piety and make sure that Scholar comes in first. Nice, simple, standard Deli opening with a little bit of a mistake here. But we're looking to be in a good spot. Wood coming up now, so I can open stable against Japan to stop any Bugeisha or Samurai shenanigans with my Ghazi Raiders. Meanwhile, A-Man's going Song Dynasty. We're just communicating, making sure that he doesn't come under too much pressure from Jeanne early, which is going to be, you know, barracks, spears, things like that. You can see him coming out to the wood now. He's going to get a few TCs, as you would expect Zhu Shi to do with the Song Dynasty wood reduction. Pretty slow opening, all things considered. There's not going to be a lot of action early until here comes the stable. I was thinking about this game and then some other games, and I find myself in this situation where if I miss scout here, I make wrong decisions. But I was really keeping my eye on Japan here. I'm actually quite proud of my scouting. The scout's coming out again to take a look at what Japan's doing in terms of gold versus stone to see if he's fast castling or going into TCs. And what I find actually is 2 gold and 1 stone, 3 gold, 1 stone, which kind of confused me a little bit. I wasn't sure exactly what Mike Nolan's goal here was, but it also told me that they were open for raids. So I'm preparing. I see this. I've already got my Ghazi coming out of the first stable, archery range and blacksmith up. We're getting the arrow technology, so as soon as those archers come out, we can start clearing spears, things like that that'll stop us. For those of you who watched yesterday, I did play this game with A-Man yesterday. Here comes that Ghazi. We accidentally run into a wolf with the attack click. And Jean is trying to get XP from the boar. She's gonna get that XP, but I also managed to scout her at half health with a Ghazi Raider right up here. Meanwhile, I'm putting pressure, but I run into a spearman, sort of idle the gold, but I'm gonna manage to pull off just in time here. We do run past Jean at first. And maybe it's the 3rd Ghazi that will turn here. Meanwhile, Japan's getting that tower up, and back up at the top, A-Man is coming under raids on his gold from Jean's Knights. Got a nice little wood wall here to protect the wood, just to get that military up, get the production up. We get chased down here by the spear, manage to pull back, and this is where we decide. Oh yeah, that's right. I decide to try to push berries. Put a little more pressure on before that tower comes up. And Jean is idled. This is so good for me. Jean is idled, and I have missed this. If I had missed this, though, on this one, like before, if he had noticed this after I already missed it, I could have gotten Jean even earlier. But it didn't really matter because, like I said, I got lucky that the Jean player was not moving. So we go after Jean here. Mace and archers. Gonna have not too hard of a time cleaning her up here. A 2nd Ghazi coming in to finish her off. Gotta be careful with the archer there, but we get the kill. Try to micro away a bit. And I've got a nice little army forming now. Japan, meanwhile, is not making too many units. Mostly spears out of double barracks now, with a tower, using that to age up most likely. You can see them macroing up with the gold and the wood, but there's too much wood here for the age up. It's going to go into units for now. Maybe more barracks, which is kind of what ends up happening. I'm keeping an eye on this because that's not enough gold just yet for that fast age up while spears are coming out. So I was looking at this and going, all right, I just need to keep applying some pressure, force more spears out, use my archers to clear some of the spearmen. And it's not a lot of spears here, so I decided to just clean that up. Try to get some more vills here, but this was a mistake. I'm going to lose 2 Ghazi for that. Maybe even 3. That's a big mistake. That's a big mistake. I dived too deep here with the Ghazi. And we've got Spear, Bugeisha coming out. I'm still ahead, and I still feel pretty good because they haven't made a ton of units. But against a better player, or in a situation where the player isn't trying to macro up, I guess more accurately, there would be more units coming out immediately. And they're kind of producing fairly slow here. Now, we're moving out for the Sacred Sites a little late. I would have liked to go earlier, but I was microing a bit, and that was quite distracting for a Diamond player, Diamond 2 team player such as myself. Meanwhile, A-Man duking it out with some knights here with spears. I asked him, I said, hey, I need to get that top one, and there's knights been hanging out around there. Can you clear it out? He said, yeah, no problem. I'll send some spears across. And I'm like, oh, sick, thank you. Because he kills some knights. I see him take those out, and I decide to just go ahead and plant the Scholar there on the Sacred. We are walling up the bottom one. I should have sent some archers to this top one or spears to wall this one off as well. I did not, and that's going to cause some issues for me in the mid game. All right, we're producing units here. Getting that wall. Nice little deli set up now. I feel good about this. I've got 5 production buildings. Usually I want to go into about 5 production buildings in feudal as deli to keep up with any fast production of any other factions. Granted, I could use a scholar, but again, as I told you, I'm not going into gold. So all of our gold is going to come from the fact that we have army for these sacreds. Now, we have that feudal Japan comp coming out. Probably a little too late, because I've got the sacreds and I've got an army that this cannot beat right now. He scouts it, sees that it's not worth fighting me. I decide to push because I've got a big army. I know I have more units than him with some of my own scouting. And I know he's trying to get that gold up, so I decide to poke a little bit more. Little Bugeisha action here. Not a good push. Gonna lose a lot of Ghazi. 3 Ghazi go down to... This is, again, too early. This is like a hard thing to take note of. But if you attack too early against this tower, against spears, without enough units on the back, you can't do enough damage to a fortified tower with arrow emplacements. It's just not going to happen. Up top, spears chasing Jean. So this is the second time we've seen Jean out on the map, and A-Man calls out that he's surrounded Jean. He gets the full surround with his spears, and there's another Jean kill. So what's happening here in our team game is I've secured the sacreds, kind of queuing up. I've got a lot of units. A-Man has successfully defended knights, so he starts building TCs. Look at this. 3 TCs coming out for A-Man. They're late TCs, but they're to follow up after the initial Jean aggression. So his villager count is going to skyrocket from here on in the game. And that's a very A-Man play to do. It's going to take him a while to get back out of this. But as Zhu Shi's legacy, he doesn't have too much to worry about. He's still got a lot of spears. It's taken him, the green Jean player, a little too long to get those archers out. One thing I'd recommend to anybody playing at this level, you need to get your archery range up as soon as the first knight comes out. So that your enemy, if they make spears or anything like that, the spears will immediately be countered by the mix of Jean and archers. Meanwhile, a fight's about to start down here, but Japan player, very smartly, Mike, is going to pull back, not push into this. But because of I saw on the edge of my screen, I saw these guys sort of pushing in, I decided to take a little poke, but he pulls back into his base, and I go, nah, let's hold off for now. Here comes a big fight on A-Man's side. We've got a ton of knights and archers coming out. This is going to be hard for A-Man to defend. He calls, actually, he says, I don't think I can hold this, because he's gone into the 3 TCs. It's not going to be an easy hold, but this is what team games are all about. He's got 3 TC, maybe a few too many vills in the garrison for now, but this is good as the knights come in. He has a lot of arrow fire. There he goes, clears that up. He says, I'm gonna get some vills on some other resources away from the front. Good decision there. The archers are quite far, so A-Man pushes these back out. Meanwhile, I'm queuing across, and instead of attacking the Jean player here, I kind of take a look. A-Man loses some vills on the front to that raid, but I take a look and I go, I think A-Man can hold this. So again, making some team game decisions here. I trust A-Man to hold. I know Japan doesn't have a huge army. I thought he would castle when I swung over, but he actually continued to make units, which works for me because meanwhile, while Jean is pushing into A-Man's base, I've got my army cutting off French reinforcements, looking for enemy villagers. I decide, the reinforcements aren't going to be as worth it as picking off vills, idling some of this eco. And in this case, take a look at green, trying to go for some pop cap shenanigans by burning down these houses. Very annoying for players to deal with. I see the knights coming back. Turn my spears and my Ghazi. My spears and Ghazi are going to love fighting knights here. Little worried about Jean, but I've got a big archer mass. So long as the archers don't kill too many of my spears, this fight should be in my favor. Good heal by the Jean player, but my big mass here is going to be able to clean this up. Unfortunately, this does mean Japan, seeing this, can move across the map. I know this is coming. Gonna have to defend this, but I opened the door for A-Man here. A-Man now, having built up behind with his 3 TC, I buy him some time by attacking Joan. Oh my gosh, we just annihilate Joan's army on that north side. I lose a lot though, and the problem with that is I've got a Japanese army walking into the front of my base now. So I've got my techs. I also click up to castle while pushing. Not a good decision. Should have just hung on in feudal a little bit longer, I think. That being said, because of the age up timing, I'm able to start producing crossbows to deal with the samurai. And the feudal samurai are just gonna fall over to enough crossbows. Villagers on the back, kind of chilling and trying to keep working. I have some vills in the TC to try to put some fire on this while my army is running back. A-Man, meanwhile, trying to put pressure on Joan. And I'm just dancing. I like to call this the villager dance. We're just villager dancing, building stuff on the back. This doesn't get up, gonna have to cancel. Japan player are pretty smart about this aggression, just trying to keep my vills off the resources. But my army comes back just in time with some crossbow and archer support. Ghazi archer not gonna have too much trouble clearing this up. We got a ton of vills in here. Cleaning up spears with the TC. Some mistakes here. Probably should have popped a Vill onto that barracks to repair it. They're gonna lose the archery ranges on the back, so I'm gonna have to build even more production. The biggest issue with this push is that I lost a lot of production and I didn't have any wood, so I had to come out here onto the wood while under attack from Japan here. My front line is gonna get demolished by those samurai. This is a mistake. I should have held my archers and used my archers to skirmish. Because meanwhile, we have more an army coming up in the front. I start to get a little nervous here. A-Man, meanwhile, trying to ram down Jean. We've got villagers in the TC to put pressure on that. My army cleans up this back. They're going to have to fall back here. Japan makes an interesting decision, and I think it's actually a good decision. Falls back with the front army, and instead of pushing back into my base with all the archers, is going to wrap around and attack A-Man in the back, while A-Man, meanwhile, is trying to push into Jean. Looks like a knight comes down here on the front side. Rams coming up. Got a little bit more cleanup going on here with my archer mass. I'm worried that they're going to come back into the back, so I don't send my villagers to the back line just yet. I'm just watching over here. But yeah, he decides not to push into my base. Coming back here, we push that out. There's units here we can clear out. We got some archers all over. Let's take a look at the fight against Joan here. A little bit of miss micro there. I mean, this is hard to micro. It's not his fault. But a little bit of miss micro there with the Zhuganu. Joan goes down again with the Zhuganu spear combo. Jushi so strong in this early game. We're at 18 minutes and we're still playing a bit of a feudal matchup, except for my castle age. Looks like the players we're against tend to probably go for like an armor push together, but they're not able to because of the play in the back. Here comes the raid. A-Man sees this too late. Gonna lose a bunch of vills to the initial swings of the Bugeisha. He calls us out, says Japan's in his base. I say, I'm gonna attack Japan then. I don't think they can survive pressure right now. But I don't have any rams. So I'm just like looking for something, but I just can't get in. And he's under attack. A-Man's under attack. He loses even more vills here, unfortunately. As he runs back out. Oh my gosh, another round of villagers who ran back out. Again, a little bit of a misplay, but I mean, you've got samurai in your base while you're trying to push and fall back with your main army. Jean does a good job of holding here, gets the upgrade, and ends up with the champions. So we now end up in a situation where A-Man is under attack from Japan, under attack from Jean as well, and I was trying to get some aggression up here, just do some damage to this Japan player. I miss these vills sneak away on the bottom, unfortunately, because Japan player is really trying to get that gold up now. But they're also H3, get units out. Oh, I probably could have finished off that tower, but A-Man was in distress, getting raided on the top. You see knights and Japan in the back. He cleans up Japan with most of his army. The Zhuganu spear combo, just working to clear out those, does he have Castle Age? Yeah, veteran samurai now. France going to fall back as I leave Japan's base. Takes me a little too long to notice. Meanwhile, a little bit of macro mistakes. These scholars need to be getting more relics or inside of the mosque here. This scholar has a relic, can be dropping this off, but not going to do that just yet. Japan, meanwhile, is also castle, and so has the Shinto priests. A little bit of missed micro here as well. Hard to remember everything. Like, that's nobody's fault, you know? But the Yoroshiros, once they're dropped off, you need to go grab those relics as Japan as well. Looks like a fight forming here at the top between A-Man and France, which, seeing this, I decided to go for a push against France, but I didn't realize France had such a big army ready to push into A-Man. So A-Man calls this out. This is all communication here with the teammate. Some pings, or if you don't have voice chat with your teammate, if you're playing free solo queue or whatever on team games, make sure to ping like crazy. Never stop pinging. Let your opponent know, or let your ally know what they need to be doing. So I know A-Man has spears, so I decided to let him take care of the knights, and I have mostly archers here, so I'm gonna try to clear out the enemy archers with my Castle Age Delhi archer crossbow combo. Now this will also be fairly effective against the knights with good kiting. So I start kiting, I'm gonna lose a lot here. Just kiting out the knights, trying to get a little bit more of a front line here. We just have archers, way too many ranged units. If we had more of a front line, if one of us had more of a front line, this would be really good, but I'm gonna lose a lot of archers just playing this dance, but A-Man able to swing around. We've been able to double archer pressure. My base comes under attack from Japan again. Scholar at almost no health, who has grabbed the other relic, tries to Wololo here, but it's gonna go down. We're gonna lose more production to Samurai. My army, meanwhile, mostly archer with a little bit of crossbow, Ghazi, knight, is rebuilding. I'm putting units up here on the top side, gathering up my troops to fight this. A few units, all army hotkeyed to attack too early, so we're gonna lose units for no particular reason here. Oh, he doesn't react. Okay, I got a little lucky here. I got lucky here, chat. This is not good to attack so early. So I get a little lucky. He sees my army coming in, decides to fight at first, but then my archer mass coming in behind. Another building that I think... Okay, there's the repair coming. I managed to repair this one in time. They try to get the relic that they have canceled me from grabbing. A little bit of a yoink here, but I've got a scholar here and an army here, so go ahead, kill that guy. I think get the scholar to grab that relic. And we push Japan back out of the base. This game has been a lot of work. I mean, we're swinging between each other's bases. This is super important in these team games. You gotta help your teammate. But part of that sometimes is just putting pressure on at the right time. Like Japan pushing into my base to keep me from attacking France. That's a good play on their part. They just don't have quite enough units to make it as worth it as they wanted here. I think you might want to go like for a second TC for the late game against Delhi, because I have a lot of eco upgrades at this point. Getting what I need. Big fight here, not a good fight for me to take. I think I don't have enough crossbows, but I managed to clear out some vills on the gold on the bottom. On the single TC, that's nice for me. Managed to get a couple, but not a lot. Not really worth it. Army still in the base with a lot of heavy units, and I only have archers still. Getting raided a bit, but that's going to get cleaned up by crossbows. Decide to go for another ram push here. We're sitting at 23 minutes. We've got all of our castle upgrades. We've got castle age units now, 14 crossbows, many in archer. I catch this in time. He's got the Springold Tower on the outpost now. I really don't have enough men-at-arms or knights or Ghazi here. I keep throwing them away in the Japan infantry. Meanwhile, A-Man's got a huge push coming into his base. Jean gonna try to get a lot of villagers here, and actually A-Man noted to me after the game was over, he lost I think 20 villagers under the constant pressure from Japan and Jean, but managed to hang on with his 4 TC, fourth TC coming up, I believe, to come back against all that. So pretty good plays by A-Man here in terms of reacting to the pressure he's been under, just by getting even more villagers out. He's gonna manage to hold here with all of those spears and Palace Guard. We've still got barely a bit of a feudal fight on the top. No veteran upgrades just yet. Maybe on the Palace Guard we have veteran upgrades, but that's not looking so good for A-Man. Meanwhile, I'm trying to ram down Japan's base. This army's not going to be enough to deal with this mass up here. It looks like Japan does go for a second TC, but this is at 25 minutes. That's so late. A-Man, back to A-Man defending his base from this mass. Just hiding with the Zhuge Nu. Hiding with the, yeah, just Zhuge Nu here. Almost over 50 Zhuge Nu now for A-Man as he manages to push France back out with the Zhu Shi's legacy defense. Saves his 4th TC and is going to start moving out. Here comes my push on the bottom. Japan's got a lot, but I do realize with the amount of crossbows I've managed to mass up now, we're at 25 crossbows, 24 crossbows. We could just kind of kite this out. There's a lot of armor and infantry in here, so the archer mass can kite this out. Meanwhile, I decide to go for some of the farms with the rams just to be annoying. I'm not going to be able to get the TC down, so go for some farms, go for some production as well here. Bit of a miss micro here, meant to leave the rams behind. And we're just going to kite this out. We're going to lose a lot of archers as a result, but behind this, the goal is to get a lot of units here. And again, this is a good fight for us regardless of all of the losses we're taking. And A-Man, meanwhile, is able to mass up in the middle and prepare to push against the Jean player. Jean basically out of units after that last push. Here's a big fight in the middle. Again, just kiting. I'm kiting for days. This is one of those situations where I think my macro is probably struggling. I've idled 21 vills, which is... This is one of my biggest issues, is idling. That's more than a quarter of my economy, chat. Just not doing anything. Let's go take a look at them. Just standing here for so long. And I did kind of okay this game with it. I'm getting better. This is something that happens a lot when I'm kiting a lot, like in the front here or anything like that. We get some relics. We forget to put some scholars into the second mosque here. So we got 4 scholars just standing around. Managed to kill and clean up most of this. And I decided, you know what? With A-Man pushing into France's base as he is, France just out of units, Jean out of units. And the Rams coming up for Delhi against Japan. We've got a mango, but France has called it quits. This game was probably going to go a little bit longer between me and Japan. Japan putting on quite the fight. Good fight, Mike Nolan. Good job on Japan. You know, as Sir Penguin, I was running between both the fights quite a bit. Could have done a better job, I'll admit, pushing into Japan. But if I had been able to focus, you know, on Japan, but we had to help out our teammate, and that's what team games again are all about. A-Man has gone full greed, and with that greed, able to take out France, swing down, and that game is over. We'll clean up the rest of Japan. He just wants to take this fight, it would seem. Sees how he does, but again, with all the crossbows I have, the infantry mass just not going to be enough. Player drops little Wolo to grab some extra vills and try to stay in the game, but this game's over. Already saying GG in chat by this point. Good game, Mike Nolan. Good game, Sormion. They played a nice game. A-Man and I just managed to communicate well and keep the aggression up and really in defending Arian's base and getting this mass out, really fighting Japan toe-to-toe for a good chunk of this game. We take the win. Sacred Sites, not as much of a thing in this game as I wanted them to be because of all the back and forth between players. We'll call it right there. And I think I'm going to play some team games with A-Man in just a bit.